Happy New Year, everyone! I promise you that I will make your English perfect this year. Now, before we continue with the new chapter, make sure to like and subscribe and share our channel so we can help more people. This is part 9b, Too Much Information. Part 1. My friends, take your time, no rush. Look at the pictures, alright? How many electronic devices can you see? And which ones do you have? Electronic device, what is it? Like this, cell phone, right? And tell me, what do you use them for? Take your time. Speak with your friends. I'll be waiting.
12 seconds later.
Great. Interesting. Now, let's do this one together. Circle the correct phrase in 1 to 6. Okay, let's do it. You and me. I got you. I used to have a lot of different gadgets, but now I use my phone for almost everything. Number 2. I'd like to buy a better computer, but I don't have enough money right now. Number 3. I spend too much time every day online. Number 4. I only have a few friends on Facebook and none of them are close friends. Number 5. I never watch TV or movies on my phone because the screen isn't big enough. And the last one, I like downloading new apps to my phone, but I think some of them are too difficult to use. Very good, you did great. But we're not done yet. Now, I need you to talk to a partner. Are the sentences in B, these 6 sentences, true for you? Why or why not? Speak with your friends. Compare your answers. Share your experiences. Let's move. Great. Now, I just need you to listen.
5.10. 1.
My uncle and aunt have a lot of money.
Nina has lots of clothes.
2.
James eats a lot.
3.
There aren't many cafes near here.
Do you have many close friends?
Do you watch much TV?
I don't eat much chocolate.
4.
Don't run. We have plenty of time.
Very good. Now, my friends, we call them quantifiers. Yeah? Use a lot of or lots of in positive sentences. Next tip, use a lot when there is no noun. For example, he talks a lot, not he talks a lot of. Much and many are usually used in negative sentences and questions, but a lot of can also be used. Use plenty of in positive sentences. More than enough, plenty of. All right, now small quantities. Again, listen.
5.11. 1.
Do you want some more ice cream?
Just a little.
The town only has a few movie theaters.
2.
I'm so busy that I have very little time for myself.
Sarah isn't popular and she has very few friends.
We call these small quantifiers, right? Use little plus uncountable nouns, few plus plural countable nouns, a little and a few equal some. You can use some as well, but not a lot. One more thing, very little and very few, not much, not many. All right? Now there's more. Make sure to study these because I want to add 2 more categories. Let's continue. You know the drill. Listen again.
5.12. 1.
I don't like this city. It's too big and it's too noisy.
2,
There's too much traffic and too much noise.
There are too many tourists and too many cars.
3,
There aren't enough parks and there aren't enough trees.
The buses aren't frequent enough.
The buses don't run frequently enough.
Okay, very good. So, as the title says, more or less than you need or want. Use too plus adjective. Use too much plus uncountable nouns and too many plus plural countable nouns. And use enough before a noun. For example, enough eggs, or after an adjective. For example, it isn't big enough. Or an adverb. For example, you aren't walking fast enough. That's all there is to it for this one, but zero quantity. Listen to this one as well.
5.13. 1,
There isn't any room in the car.
We don't have any eggs.
2,
There's no room in the car.
We have no eggs.
3,
How many eggs do we have?
None. I've used them all.
All right, very good. So use any plus noun for zero quantity with a negative verb. Use no plus noun with a positive verb. And use none without a noun in short answers. Now you're going to tell me, teacher, I'm confused already. I know. You don't need to memorize all of this. I just need you to use them. We will practice together. Don't worry, you'll master it. You're smart. Let's test ourselves. I have two exercises for you. The first one, circle the correct answer and check if both are possible. For example, my husband has too many electronic gadgets. Oh, it's countable, yeah? Very good. So you use too many instead of too much. Very good. In the next part, check the correct sentences and correct the mistakes in the highlighted phrases, if there is any, of course. For example, my nephew got lots of video games for his birthday, so it's okay. I don't post many videos on Facebook, not much videos, because you can count videos. So many is correct. As always, take your time, stop the video and do it yourself. I'll be waiting for you and drinking my coffee, all right? Now, if you have done it, I need you to check your answers with your friends, all right? Compare your answers. Let's do it together. Number one, I just have to reply to a few emails and then I'll be finished. Number two, do you spend much time on social networking sites? Number three, my bedroom is a nice size. There's enough room or plenty of room for a desk. So both forms are correct. Number four, I know very few people who speak two foreign languages. Number five, my brother has downloaded a lot of or lots of apps onto his new phone. Both conditions are correct. Number six, I have some cash on me, but not a lot. Number seven, their new TV is too big. It hardly fits in the living room. Number eight, there aren't any or there are no potatoes. I forgot to buy some. All right? So both of them are correct. Number nine, my niece isn't old enough to play with a game console. And number 10, I don't have many friends or a lot of friends on Facebook. Well done, you did great. Now, as for the next part, number one, how many presents did you get? A lot. Number two, I buy very few paper books now because I have an e-reader. So it's correct. Number three, I don't use, no, you should say, I don't use any social networks because I don't like them. All right. Number 4, please turn that music down. It's too loud, or it's much too loud. All right. Very good. Number 5, there aren't many good shows on TV tonight. It's correct. Number 6, my internet connection isn't fast enough for me to download movies. Number 7, I make too many phone calls, not too much. It's countable, too many. My phone bill is enormous. Number 8, how much fruit do we have? None. Can you buy some? And number 9, there are only a few websites that I use regularly. And number 10, Karen has plenty of money, so she always has the latest gadgets. And that's all there is to it for the grammar practices. See, it was so easy. You don't need to make it complicated. Just use them. That's all there is to it. Part 2, pronunciation. Everyone, look, O-U-G-H and A-U-G-H. So you have to be careful with these two. Why? Because they can have different pronunciations. Now try to remember how to pronounce the most common words that have this combination of letters. For example, although. All right. Now write the words in the list in the correct column. For example, look up, ah, saw, right? Phone, cat, ah, boot, ooh. All right. Take your time. Write these words in each column. Now, if you have done it, I need you to listen and check.
5.14.
Up. Enough. Tough.
Saw, augh, bought, brought, caught, cough, daughter, thought.
Phone. Oh. Although.
Cat, ah, laugh,
Boot. Ooh. Through.
All right, very good. Now, look at these ones. Enough, tough, laugh, cough. So they end with fe, with the sound fe, right? You did great. That's all there is to it. You just need to know. You don't need to memorize, or you don't need to practice anything special. Now I need you to listen to sentences 1 to 5 and practice saying them. Just listen and repeat. You can do it multiple times. Let's go.
5.15. 1,
I thought I'd brought enough money with me.
2,
My daughter caught a bad cold.
3,
I bought it although it was very expensive.
4,
We've been through some tough times.
5,
I didn't laugh. It was a cough.
All right. You can listen multiple times and practice saying them. I'm proud of you. Great. You made it to my favorite part, reading and speaking. Everybody, look at the title of the article. Information overload. What do you think it means? I need you to read the first paragraph and check it. I'll be waiting for you.
A few minutes later.
Okay, you're back. So, what does it mean? What does the title mean? Information overload means getting too much information. You did great. Now let's go to our main gig. Now, I need you to read the whole article and choose A, B, or C. I'll be waiting for you.
A few moments later.
Well done. Now first, let's read it together. If you type the words information overload into Google, you will immediately get an information overload. More than 7 million hits in 0.5 seconds or half a second. Some of this information is interesting. For example, you learn that the phrase information overload was first used in 1970, before the internet was invented. Alright? But much of the information is non-relevant or useful. Obscure companies and even more obscure bloggers. Information overload is one of the biggest irritations in modern life. There are news and sport websites to watch, emails that need to be answered, people who want to chat with you online and back in real world, friends, family, and colleagues who also have things to tell you at work. Information overload is also causing problems. A recent survey has shown that many company managers believe that it has made their jobs less satisfying and has even affected their personal relationships outside work. Some of them also think that it is bad for their health. Clearly, there is a problem. It is not only the increase in the quantity of information, it is also the fact that it is everywhere, not just in the home and in the workplace. Many people today do not go anywhere without their smartphones. There is no escape from the internet. Scientists have highlighted 3 big worries. First, information overload can make people feel anxious. There is too much to do and not enough time to do it. People end up multitasking, which can make them even more stressed. Second, information overload can make people less creative. Research shows that people are more likely to be creative if they are allowed to focus on one thing for some time without interruptions. Third, information overload can make people less productive. People who multitask take much longer and make many more mistakes than people who do the same tasks one after another. What can be done about information overload? One solution is technological. There is now a computer program or app you can install called Freedom that disconnects you from the web at the present times. The second solution involves willpower. Turn off your cell phone and the internet from time to time. The manager of an IT company puts thinking time into his schedule when all his electronic devices are turned off so that he isn't disturbed. This might sound little common sense, but nowadays, although we have more information than ever before, we do not always have enough common sense. Oh, that was interesting. Now, check your answers with your friends as always. Many of the managers surveyed think that as a result of information overload, they enjoy their jobs less. Very good. Number 2, scientists think that information overload makes people more stressed and less creative. And the last question, one solution to information overload would be for people to spend less time using the internet. Very good. Now, there are some highlighted words. I need you to check them on Google, or in your dictionary, and write the definitions down. Now, do you suffer from information overload in your own life? We're talking about your life. Talk to your partner, to your friend, all right, about how information overload affects different parts of your life, your work, your studies, your social life, your family life, your relationship. Speak with your friends. Share your experiences. Time to talk. Part 4. You made it so far. Impressive. Vocabulary and pronunciation. Electronic devices. Phrasal verbs. Linking. Let's do it. Match the words and pictures. For example, number 1. Look, it's done. A switch. The rest is yours. Take your time. You can stop the video also. Now I need you to listen and check.
5.16. 1,
A switch.
2,
A plug.
3,
Headphones.
4,
A remote control.
5,
A screen.
6,
A keyboard.
7,
A mouse.
8,
A speaker.
9,
A flash drive.
10,
An adapter.
11,
A USB cable.
12,
An outlet.
Now that was easy, wasn't it? My friends, match the sentences. This is your gig. I'll be waiting again. Take your time and do it yourself. You can also stop the video. And if you have done it, check your answers with your friends. All right, listen and check.
5.17. 1. C.
I changed the heat from 70 degrees to 62 degrees. I turned it down.
2. F.
I disconnected my iPod from the computer. I unplugged it.
3. D.
I increased the volume on the TV. I turned it up.
4. A.
I pressed the off button on the TV. I switched it off.
5. G.
I programmed the alarm on my phone. I set it for 7:30.
6. E.
I put my phone charger into an outlet. I plugged it in.
7. B.
I pressed the on button on my laptop. I switched it on.
All right, very good, everybody. Now look, switched it off, switched it on, turn it down, turn it up, plugged it in. All right, so we call these linking. All right, I need you to now listen and repeat. Okay, try to say it exactly like the audio. Let's go.
5.18. A.
I switched it off.
B.
I switched it on.
C.
I turned it down.
D.
I turned it up.
E.
I plugged it in.
F.
I unplugged it.
G.
I set it for 7:30.
Okay, before we move on to the next part, separable phrasal verbs. Remember that many phrasal verbs are separable. For example, the object can go between the verb and the particle. Look, switch the TV on or switch on the TV. So the TV, the object, can come between them. Yeah? Or after the particle, switch on the TV. However, if the object is a pronoun, it must go between the verb and the particle. Switch it on, not switch on it. You'll get the hang of it. It's easy for you. Everything is easy for you because this is your year, my friend. Finally, it's time to speak it out. Answer the questions with a partner. Give reasons for your answer. Number 1. How many devices do you have with screens? Which one do you use the most? Number 2. Do you prefer to use a keyboard with or without a mouse? Do you usually listen to music with headphones or with speakers? How many remote controls do you have? And do you think you have too many? Number 5. How many prongs do plugs in your country have? Do you need a travel adapter if you go abroad? And number 6, in your house, do you usually agree about what the temperature should be? Or is someone always turning the heat or air conditioning up or down? Very good. Discuss these questions with your friends. Share your experiences. Time to talk. All the way to listening and speaking. Part 5. Look at the book cover and the book review information. What do you think the book is about? How do you think the 3 teenagers feel? Okay, let's do it together. Frank, funny, and incredibly inspiring. Sunday Express. The Winter of Our Disconnect by Susan Marshart. How one family pulled the plug on their technology and lived to tell. Text, tweet, the tale. Okay. The wise and hilarious story of a family who discovered that having fewer tools to communicate with actually led them to communicate more. When Susan Marshart first announced her intention to pull the plug on her family's entire collection of electronic gadgets for 6 months, her 3 kids didn't react at all, says Marshart. Looking back, I can understand why. They didn't hear me. Okay, the title is a play on words. Shakespeare's play, Richard III, opens with the famous phrase, "Now is the winter of our discontent." So, the winter of our disconnect. Interesting. Okay, guys, write down your ideas. We've got business to do. Okay, just like you, I'm curious as well. Listen to part 1 of a radio breakfast show where the guests are discussing the book. Answer questions 1 to 6. Okay, first I give you some time to study the questions. Very good. Now listen and answer. Let's go.
5.19. Part 1.
And now it's time for our book of the week, which is The Winter of Our Disconnect by Susan Marshart. Jeremy, to start with, it's a good title, isn't it?
Yes, amazing. And it was a fascinating experiment and a good read.
Tell us about it.
Well, Susan Marshart is a journalist who's raising 3 teenage children. She decided to do the experiment after reaching a point where she felt that the whole family, especially her children, were all living in their own little worlds, with headphones on, plugged into their laptops or their iPods or their smartphones, and that they weren't relating to the other people in the family.
So, it wasn't just her children who were permanently plugged into an electrical device.
Well, she admits that she herself was addicted to her phone and to her iPod and her laptop, and that she was constantly reading news sites and Googling information. But it was really her children who were totally dependent on new technology. In the book, she makes the interesting distinction between digital immigrants and digital natives.
What does that mean?
She describes herself as a digital immigrant. That's to say, someone who didn't grow up with digital technology, which is really anyone who was born before 1980. Her children are digital natives, which means that they were born after computers and the internet were already part of life.
Well, that's me then.
Yes. Well, the main difference, she says, is that digital immigrants use the technology to find information or to listen to music, but digital natives live and breathe the technology. So for them, living without it is like living without water, without electricity, in the Dark Ages.
What were the rules of the experiment?
The family had to live for 6 months without using any electrical gadgets in the house with a screen. So no smartphones, no TVs, no laptops or computers, no video consoles, and no iPods. They were allowed to use technology at school or at friends' houses or in internet cafes, and they were allowed to use landline phones. But everything else was switched off for the whole 6 months.
6 months? How on earth did she get the children to agree?
She bribed them. She told them that she was going to write a book about the experiment and that they would share in any profits that she made from the book.
Wow, that was very smart of her.
All right, very good. Now, I need you to check your answers with your friends. So why did Susan Marshart, all right, I hope that I'm saying the name right. I'm very bad with names. Decide to do the experiment? Well, because the whole family, especially the children, were always plugged into a device. For example, their laptops, their iPods, etc. And weren't relating to the other people in the family. Number two, was it just her children who were spending too much time using technology? Well, no, it was the whole family. Number three, who are digital immigrants and digital natives? Who are they? Digital immigrants are people who did not grow up with digital technology, anyone born before 1980. Digital natives are people who were born after computers and internet already existed. Okay? Number four, what gadgets did Susan Marshart's family have to switch off and where? Well, at home they had to switch off any electrical gadgets with a screen, smartphones, TV, laptops, or computers, game boxes, and iPods. And what were they allowed to use? They were allowed to use technology in school or at friends' houses or in internet cafes, and they were allowed to use landline phones. Landline phone. Wow. That's, I think, extreme. All right? And how did she get the children to agree to the experiments? Well, she told them she was going to write a book about the experiment and they would share in any profits that she made from the book. So she literally bribed them with money. Nice one. Works all the time. Now, listen to part two. In general, was the experiment positive or negative? Why? So, that's the only question. Was it positive or negative and why? Okay, let's get it done.
5.20. Part 2.
So, what were the results? Was it a positive experience?
At the end of the book, Susan says that it was a positive experience in every way. At first, of course, the kids complained bitterly. They kept saying they were bored. But then they started to talk to each other again, to go and sit in each other's rooms and talk. They got interested in cooking and reading. They went to the movies together. They played CDs on the CD player, and they actually sat and listened to the music instead of just having music on their headphones all the time as background music. And Susan's 15-year-old son started playing the saxophone again. He'd stopped playing a few years before, but then he started taking lessons again and even started giving concerts. Oh, and the children said that they slept better.
Oh, well, that's good, yeah. What about the children's schoolwork? I mean, nowadays we sort of assume that everyone needs the internet to do research for homework and so on.
In fact, the children's report cards showed that they all improved. When they needed the internet, they used the computers at school or at college. The eldest daughter was in college, or they went to friends' houses. But when they did their homework, they did it better than before because they weren't multitasking. They weren't doing homework and listening to music and sending messages all at the same time. So they concentrated better and their schoolwork improved.
What about Susan, the mother? Did she find it difficult to live without modern technology?
What she found most difficult was writing her weekly article for the newspaper because she had to do it by hand and not on her laptop. She says that at the beginning her hand used to really ache. She just wasn't used to writing by hand anymore. But that was just a small problem.
Any of the negatives?
Well, of course, the phone bill for their landline was huge.
Has the experiment had a lasting effect?
Susan says that it has. She thinks that they all get along much better as a family. Her son is still playing the saxophone, and he sold his video console. They've all realized that we live in a digital world, but that we need to disconnect from time to time and to reconnect with the people around us. So they have new rules in the house, like no TVs in bedrooms and no TV in the kitchen where they eat, and no wasted hours on the internet.
Sounds great. That would be a good rule for me, too.
All right, so check your answers with your friends. In general, the experiment was positive because Susan's family talked more to each other, they did more activities alone and together, they slept better, the children's schoolwork improved. So these are the reasons. Well, everyone, you did a great job. You see, I told you, I repeat, this is your year. You need to master your English this year. I've got your back. Now listen again and complete the sentences in your own words.
5.20. Part 2.
So, what were the results? Was it a positive experience?
At the end of the book, Susan says that it was a positive experience in every way. At first, of course, the kids complained bitterly. They kept saying they were bored. But then they started to talk to each other again, to go and sit in each other's rooms and talk. They got interested in cooking and reading. They went to the movies together. They played CDs on the CD player, and they actually sat and listened to the music instead of just having music on their headphones all the time as background music. And Susan's 15-year-old son started playing the saxophone again. He'd stopped playing a few years before, but then he started taking lessons again and even started giving concerts. Oh, and the children said that they slept better.
Oh, well, that's good, yeah. What about the children's schoolwork? I mean, nowadays we sort of assume that everyone needs the internet to do research for homework and so on.
In fact, the children's report cards showed that they all improved. When they needed the internet, they used the computers at school or at college. The eldest daughter was in college, or they went to friends' houses. But when they did their homework, they did it better than before because they weren't multitasking. They weren't doing homework and listening to music and sending messages all at the same time. So they concentrated better and their schoolwork improved.
What about Susan, the mother? Did she find it difficult to live without modern technology?
What she found most difficult was writing her weekly article for the newspaper because she had to do it by hand and not on her laptop. She says that at the beginning her hand used to really ache. She just wasn't used to writing by hand anymore. But that was just a small problem.
Any of the negatives?
Well, of course, the phone bill for their landline was huge.
Has the experiment had a lasting effect?
Susan says that it has. She thinks that they all get along much better as a family. Her son is still playing the saxophone, and he sold his video console. They've all realized that we live in a digital world, but that we need to disconnect from time to time and to reconnect with the people around us. So they have new rules in the house, like no TVs in bedrooms and no TV in the kitchen where they eat, and no wasted hours on the internet.
Sounds great. That would be a good rule for me, too.
Okay, very good. Now, these are sample answers, but your answer may be the same. At the beginning, the children complained that they were bored. Later, they started to talk to each other again. Her son started to play the saxophone again. Their mother found it difficult to write her weekly article for the newspaper. Another negative thing was that her phone bill for their landline was huge and they now have new house rules. For example, no TVs in bedrooms or in the kitchen and no wasted hours on the internet. Now, time for part 3. You're going to listen to the guests. What does each guest say he or she would miss most if he or she had to do the experiment? We have Sally, Andrew, Jeremy, and Chloe. Listen and fill in the blanks, I guess. Let's do it.
5.21. Part 3.
Okay, so imagine you all did the experiment. What would you miss the most? Sally?
Well, I already live without the internet many weekends because we have a house in the country in the middle of nowhere where there's no internet service. So I know that what I would miss most is being able to Google information, like the phone number of a restaurant or what time a movie starts, or even, dare I say it, the sports scores. I don't have a TV, so I wouldn't miss that, but I would miss not having the internet.
Andrew?
Well, I just couldn't live without a computer or a laptop because I work from home, so I don't have an office to go to, and I absolutely need the internet too. I couldn't do the experiment. I just wouldn't be prepared to go to an internet cafe all day to work. Susan, the journalist who did the experiment, only had to write 1 column a week, but I work from home 8 hours a day.
Jeremy?
I think I could do it. I think I could easily live without any of these electrical gadgets at home. I mean, I have my office, so I could use the internet there. I don't use an iPod. I still prefer to listen to CDs.
You old dinosaur.
Yes, I know. And I don't watch much TV. I am very attached to my BlackBerry, but I wouldn't mind using a regular phone for 6 months. I don't think there's anything I'd miss too much.
And finally, Chloe, our only digital native.
Well, I'm sorry, but I just wouldn't be prepared to even try the experiment, not even for a week, let alone 6 months. I wouldn't be prepared to live without my phone. I use it for everything. Calling, music, the internet. So no, I wouldn't do it.
Not even if you were offered money?
It would have to be a huge amount of money. No, I'm definitely not going to do it.
All right, very good. So again, compare your answers with your friends. So Sally would miss the internet, Andrew would miss a computer or laptop, Jeremy would miss nothing, and Chloe, her phone, she wouldn't do the experiment because she needs it all the time. But now, what about you? Discuss the questions with a partner. Have you ever had to live without the internet for a few days or more? For example, when you were on vacation somewhere. Did you miss it a lot? Why or why not? Number 2, do you think Susan Marshall's experiment was a good idea? Why or why not? The woman who plugged off all the devices in her house. And number 3, if you had to do the experiment, what do you think would you miss the most and why? You can use this type of language. The thing I'd miss the most would be, or the thing I'd miss most is, I can't live without it because I need or I use it for, I'm addicted to it, or I depend on it for, okay? As always, you can take notes, write your answers, and discuss them with your friends. It's your turn now. Show me what you got. Great. We're almost finished. The writing part. A magazine article, advantages and disadvantages. Okay, first, read the article. It's a student magazine about advantages and disadvantages of living without a TV, a television. All right, the computer has found 10 mistakes, grammar, vocabulary, punctuation, and spelling. Can you correct them? Okay, you know the mistakes, take your time, read the article, and correct them. And after that, we'll do it together. I'll be waiting.
6.5 hours later.
All right, you're back. So let's read it together. Living without a TV. TV, television. Almost every family today has a TV. In fact, probably more than one. And people everywhere spend hours watching it. But a few families choose to live without a TV because they think there are advantages. The first advantage is that families spend more time talking to each other. Second, they spend more time doing more creative things like reading or painting. And third, they spend more time outdoors and are usually in better shape. But on the other hand, there are also disadvantages. For example, children who don't have a TV may feel different from their school friends and often won't know what they are talking about. Also, it is not true that all the TV shows are bad. There are good ones like documentaries, and people who live without a TV may know less about what's happening in the world. In conclusion, although living without a TV has some advantages, I think today it is unrealistic and that we should just try to turn the TV off when there's nothing good on it. Very good. Now, I need you to read this correct article now yourself and answer these 3 questions. Again, I'll be waiting. Your turn.
Tomorrow.
Okay, so what are the 3 advantages? Well, families spend more time talking to each other, they spend more time doing more creative things like reading or painting, and they spend more time outdoors and are usually in better shape. Okay, now on the other hand, what are the 2 disadvantages? Children who don't have a TV may feel different from their school friends and often won't know what they are talking about. People who live without TV may know less about what's happening in the world. And is the writer for or against having the TV? The writer is for having a TV. He or she just says that whenever you don't need it, it should be turned off. You know, you just use it when you need it. And I guess it's a good solution. Not bad. Now you know how to write a simple article with advantages and disadvantages. Let's put it to test. This is your test. You're going to write a similar article about smartphones, first with a partner. Make a list of advantages and disadvantages. Yeah. Okay? So, after you have done it, now decide which are the 3 biggest advantages and number them 1 to 3. 1 the biggest. And do the same with the disadvantages. Alright? Now I need you to just write an article similar to the one that you read about TV. And these are some useful languages. For example, firstly, second, third, listing disadvantages. On the other hand, there are also some disadvantages. For instance, for example, also, conclusion, in conclusion, to sum up, I think. All right, very good. Now, try to write your article in this way. For example, look, paragraph 2, write 2 or 3 disadvantages. Paragraph 3, write 2 or 3 disadvantages. Paragraph 4, conclusion. And the first paragraph is the introduction, as always. Many people today don't just have a cell phone. They have a smartphone, like an iPhone or a BlackBerry. But is it a great invention? I think there are both advantages and disadvantages. So first, you come up with a neutral sentence, a title sentence. Then you rephrase what you're going to say. And then, what I like to say, you map it. I think there are both advantages and disadvantages. And you write the rest. Okay, this is your gig. Write me an article, or I should say, write me an essay with this format. You got it. And that is the practice for today, everybody. I promised you, this year, I don't want you to be bad in English. I want you to speak fluently. I want you to speak perfectly. Practice on a daily basis. Forget motivation, blah, blah, blah. It's discipline. Do it every day, no matter what. It's never enough. Master yourself. Your greatest disadvantage would be your laziness. So master yourself. You command yourself, not your feelings. And that's all there is to it for today, my friends. I love you all, and I will make your English perfect. That's a promise.